Discover prototypical track and turnouts with the Roadmaster series from Oak Hill Model Railroad Track Supply. Proudly made in the United States, Oak Hill's handcrafted turnouts provide unparalleled detail and accuracy, giving your layout museum-quality track work at an affordable price. Whether fully built or in easy-to-assemble kit form, Roadmaster provides all the details of real track. Looking for a custom piece of track work? Oak Hill can help with custom turnouts, diamonds, crossings, and more. Check out all of their offerings on their website, ohrtracksupply.com. Trains aren't just a hobby, they're a way of life. At 1810 Designs, they create handcrafted wood art that captures the spirit of the rails. Whether you're a modeler, a collector, or just love the sound of a distant whistle, 1810 Designs is here to enhance the hobby. Visit 1810designs.com and bring the railroad home. From trackside to roadside and wherever you'd see a sign, Scale Signs has it all. With over 1,400 offerings in N, HO, S, and O scale, Scale Signs has the largest collection of fine scale signs on the planet. Come see the details that bring your models to life on their website, scalesigns.com. ATLP Extra is our monthly newsletter delivered right to your inbox each month. Sign up for free at atlpextra.com. Hello, everybody, and welcome to Around the Layout, where model railroaders come to tell their story. My name is Ray Arnott, so glad you could join us. As many of you already know, I recently attended the 18th annual St. Louis RPM in Collinsville, Illinois. This was my second trip to the St. Louis RPM, and it surely didn't disappoint. I had an amazing trip spending time with fellow model railroaders as we shared stories, knowledge, and our passion for this great hobby. I brought along my microphone and recorder and talked to over 20 attendees, and I'm pleased to share these conversations with you in two parts. Without further ado, here's part 2 of our coverage of the 18th annual St. Louis RPM. I've been able to rejoin with one of the panelists from last night's technology discussion, Mr. Scott Thornton.
Hello, Ray. How you doing?
I'm doing awesome. Isn't it so good that the AC is working so well in here?
Oh, man, it's incredible because it is so hot outside, but it's so nice in here. In fact, it's almost too cold, but heck, I'll take too cold over not cold enough. You know?
Well, I'll tell you what, this New England blood will take all the cold it can get, and it's so nice when you hit the door here, and not only you're hit with the blast of cold, but you're hitting the blast of model railroading that's in this room. And once again, the St. Louis RPM delivers. We talked about this prior to the show. We're hanging here with our homies, right?
Oh, yes, and all these homies are in seventh heaven because model railroading is their passion. They love it, and we're just around a lot of happy people.
Yeah, that's for sure. And one thing I've been making an observation of is the mix of people. We got so many different demographics and age groups. If anybody is worried about this hobby going away, just come here to the St. Louis RPM and just look at the young faces and how enthused they are and the things that they're bringing forward in the hobby.
Exactly, and it infuses a nice energy into all of us. You know, the hobby isn't just a bunch of old guys hanging around reminiscing about the good old days. It's advancing. You know, the theme for this year was technology, and the hobby is continually changing, but the technology is getting better and better and offering the modeler all kinds of new and exciting things to add to their layouts, which is spectacular.
Yeah, we're looking down the row here. We've just got so much technology here. And then young folks behind the tables, they're not just on the model railroad ride. They've got their hand on the throttle, really helping run this thing forward.
Exactly. And young people, you talk about technology, young people know technology. I'm recently retired. Technology can be challenging for some of us who are mid-age or older, but for the young people, it's intuitive. It comes naturally. So it's just a natural extension that the hobby's going to go that way and continue to offer us more and more exciting features for our layouts.
I think, and really what we've been able to do, it's going to be very hard very soon to tell the difference between being trackside and being layout side. That the stuff that we see out on the rail is really coming home to the layouts.
Absolutely, Ray. Like everything from flange squeal to lighting effects, sound effects, and who knows what some of these creative individuals are going to come up with next. So I think the sky's the limit, and all we have to do is let a little time pass, and somebody will come out with something else that's innovative that we can all get excited about and open our wallets for.
Absolutely, yeah. We had such a great time last night. We got to hear from yourself and 4 other amazing model railroaders who are using technology to really enhance that entire experience, not only for visitors to the layout, but the layout owners as well, and being able to really explore all those things you love and be able to have that right in your home. Talk about what you think is really maybe the next big thing. What do you think the next big thing in model railroading is going to be?
Well, I'd like to say dead rail, for HO scale, but that's probably not going to happen right away until the technology with batteries gets better. But that's kind of a dream I have, because most of us don't like to be hunched underneath the layout dealing with a spaghetti bowl of wiring. So that's really what I'm looking forward to technology-wise.
You mean someday I might be able to retire my my original Scotty's Model Shop track cleaner, which is now an ISE product? You think one day I'm going to be able to put that on the shelf and just display it?
I sure hope so, Ray, because wouldn't that be awesome if we could retire all the cleaning fluids and scratch pads and this and that we use. But thanks for the plug.
You bet. Mine's still the original and still a good working tool, and now that's available through ISE, and you've been over there working with the ISE folks. Talk about guys that are really helping push the needle when it comes to new technology.
Yes, and thank you for that too. ISE and others are really advancing the hobby, and I was over talking to Chuck Stansel, who owns Logic Rail Technologies, and he's got a new lighting module, that 16-port lighting module that you can use LLC to put all the lighting effects on a timer so that they activate at different times in your diorama or in your scene. And that's just a super neat new product that he's come out with. ISE's come out with their new full signal system, modular system called SimpleSig. And so there's very exciting products coming out all the time.
Yeah, and moving forward, the thing I know you're very passionate about, the theater of model railroading and all those effects that really bring you into it. And I know that's a passion of yours. We've talked about that on the podcast before. I'll share links to those episodes so they can go back and hear you talk about your passion there. And we're going to let you get back to doing some shopping here at the St. Louis RPM. You're back out from behind the table. I caught you in the middle of the room. You're out browsing and, probably putting some paint in the wallet a little bit.
Yes, I have. I've already bought some things, and who knows? I always feel like I'm missing something. Whenever you come to a show, there's always that nagging feeling, I don't want to leave the show and then discover later, oh goodness, there was a product that was something I really wanted or needed. So hopefully I'll avoid that feeling.
Well, you like to try to make a plan coming in, but the St. Louis RPM just surprises you with so many things. It's impossible to have that plan. You just try to cover the geography and hope you see everything.
I know, but I'm just sharing one of those things that we as humans have to deal with when we come to a hobby show. Got to see it all, got to get it all in and make sure I don't miss anything.
Well, that'll be tonight when we all gather around and we have our last cold beverage and you say, hey, did you see X? And you'll be like, no, I missed it. Oh, are you kidding me? You're going to have to tell me about it. So you see it or you get filled in later.
Oh, yeah. Well, at the St. Louis RPM, they're famous for their over an hour-long door prize giveaway. So if I miss something, hopefully my number will come up and I'll be able to walk up there and find something that, oh, man, here's what I really need.
Awesome stuff. Scott Thornton, always fun to hang out with you and hang out here in the St. Louis RPM. That's always a pleasure.
You too, Ray, and thanks for all you do for the hobby, and it's been a blast.
Well, we better make this fast because this guy has been so busy this weekend. The titan of model railroad industry, Kevin Tully himself from Tully Models. Kevin, take a quick breath and rest your feet for just a few minutes because we get to chat a little bit about what's going on here at the St. Louis RPM.
Hi, Ray. Thanks for coming over.
Yeah, you've been putting on thousands and thousands of miles. You've been traveling all over the place and hitting all these stops and whatnot. So I think this is this stop number 2 this month or 3? Have you lost? I've lost count. Have you lost count?
It's stop 2 this month. Novi was 2 different places though, because the NMRA guys were nice enough to invite me to be one of the. I'm not really sure what to call it. I think it was maybe like a manufacturer showcase or something at the convention for 2 days, and then we packed up and went across town and set up at the National Train Show, and then went home for 3 whole days where I manufactured as much stuff as I could to refit for coming to RPM, and now we're here. So.
And by the looks of these tables, I think you're going to have to do some more manufacturing. You've been busy, and I've been sitting here just waiting for you, and as soon as one comes and you write the slip and they move on, the next one comes up with questions and buying and getting themselves set up to put these awesome grain mills and steel mills on their layouts.
Yeah, it's this show's been a little different. It's actually kind of nicer because in previous years, it's usually like a glut of guys, and I feel bad because they're standing, 10 deep waiting to get a purchase. And today and yesterday has been kind of nice. It's just been a kind of steady flow. I'm able to actually pay attention to people and answer questions while they're making a purchase, and then nobody's really kind of waiting per se, like you would at a restaurant or something. So it's been a little nicer at this show. It's a nice steady flow of customers.
Now, we're in St. Louis, East St. Louis, kind of on the Illinois side of St. Louis, and, I see a lot of steel mills around, and, of course, driving here, we see a lot of grain mills, so all this traveling must also be R&D time for you as well.
It is. Last year, I have my son with me this year, and the heat is a very hot weekend, as we've all been experiencing. But last year I actually took all of Sunday, and I told my wife I'll be home around supper. And when I was on the highway, if I saw an elevator or something off the side of the road, I just got off the highway and went and took pictures of it. So, it's a little nicer than just having to drive straight home. But it is. The area is rich with Granite City and U.S. Steel over there with their 2 furnaces, and then all the elevators on the way home, especially a lot of the older elevators that are still working, but it's older equipment. And then north of here, there are a little ways, there's a massive, massive elevator I always talk about the march of time and how an elevator starts and then they add on some bins because there's more crop, and then they're handling more business, so they add some more bins on. Well, this one that's north of here has a concrete elevator that was probably built in the 50s or something like that, and they've literally added onto it, must be 6 or 7 times with really huge additions. Totally I can't even imagine modeling it, but it's impressive to see it just the same.
One of my pastimes of traveling has been sending you photos of grain mills and feed mills as I travel throughout the Northeast for my work. And if I were to do that coming out of Chicago, heading down to St. Louis, we would have never made the show because there's just so much out there. But when you talk to folks here, between the 2 different industries that you're covering mainly, does there seem to be one popular over the other?
Yeah, in the Midwest, it tends to be more the ag stuff, and I think that's because most people's backgrounds are more grain industry. There were a lot of steel mills up around Chicago and in Milwaukee, and there's Granite City here, but that's really kind of it. In the old days, there was a mill down in Joliet, but that's still Chicago area. Whereas, especially along the IC and the Pennsy and the Nickel Plate and the Chicago Northwestern, all those roads, 40 years ago, you couldn't go through every little town on the main line and they didn't have some kind of feed mill or grain elevator or a fertilizer dealer or something. So for the guys out here that are modeling this area and what they knew growing up, it tends to be more of the ag side of the house.
Now, you've been talking to folks, and I know there's been some products they're looking for. We're about midway through the day on Sunday, and there's a few things that you're telling them, just order it on the web because I'm out, and you're going to have to, again, get some back to production. But has there been one particular item that seems to be wildly popular?
The dryers, this show has been like that, and I'm always concerned about bringing dryers and having all the guys that needed one already have one. But the dryers tend to be very popular. The loads, the flat car loads I do are always very popular. Lots of people asking about the New Hartford and the Ging elevator from Farina that I'm going to come out with. And I actually got the silos here from New Hartford, but I just haven't had enough time to box. I don't know if people realize when you do a big kit like that, you have to figure out the packaging, because you have to pack it properly so that when they get home, they have a nice parts that are all in one piece, and it's logically packaged for how they're going to assemble the kit. And I haven't had time with all the shows and getting ready for the shows to do that. But those two kits will be out in August. They should be out in August.
Yeah, definitely when you order a kit, it's always great for the kit to show up in the exact amount of parts that it left and not have to do even more kit building because the Postal Service decided that you needed a little more challenge and it's crushed and broken. So, yeah, all the things we don't think about when we're thinking about, how the whole process goes. It's beyond just the R&D and then the drawings and the 3D printing. It's also the packaging, the marketing, the photos. There's just so much to it. But you're doing it, and now you're out here yet again at the St. Louis RPM. You get your products out in front of all these awesome modelers, and the gathering of our people, right? And what better place to find no kidding model railroaders than the St. Louis RPM?
Well, the thing I've been focusing on as a modeler, the thing I've always hated for years, when you get home with a kit and I need trucks, or I need couplers, or I have to go back to the hobby shop and get evergreen styrene for doing a particular part of the model that the instructions call out, and I've loathed that as most modelers do. So with the cars and the elevator kits and the bin kits that I'm coming out with, I'm being very conscious. I've allied myself with evergreen and Plastruct, and I have a wheel supplier, and I'm a KD dealer now. So I really want to focus on everything's in the box. I actually have a decal I'm putting on the boxes that says everything's in the box. And I've had very good response from modelers online when they realize that they've gotten their kit, and they've been kind enough to go on the Facebook groups and things and make comments like, wow, I opened this up and I didn't have to have anything but glue and paint and knowledge on how to assemble a kit. And I'm really focusing very hard on that so that people don't have to have something out of their own parts bin or whatever. It's everything is in the box. That's my focus this year.
Yeah, so no parts sold separately. This is all an inclusive kit that you've been able to put together. Kevin, I'm so surprised that we were able to get this long because you've just been so busy, and and even then there's been folks going by and checking it out. I'm sure they're going to be back to buy and get their industry parts from Steel Mill Modeler Supply and Southern Tier Grade Modeler Supply, Industrial Modeler Supply, and all the things that fall under the awesome umbrella of TullyModels.com. Kevin Tully, always good to see you, my friend.
Always good to see you, Ray. Thanks for stopping by.
We're talking Model Railroad News, but no, we're not talking to the editor. We're talking to the associate editor of Model Railroad News, Shane Mason.
Assistant editor, but it's close enough.
All right, the assistant editor. We'll get the titles right, but you're basically Tony's chauffeur this weekend, isn't that right?
Oh yeah, every year in St. Louis, I'm usually tasked with. I get to his place, we pull all my stuff out of his car out of my car into his car. Off we go. I'm driving the entire weekend.
There you go. So you get to escort him around. He escorted me around Deschler, Nebraska, and we had a great time there. And then we get to see you, and I'm always looking forward every year to seeing you. Beyond the magazine, tell us what's new.
Not a whole lot lately. We bought a house about 3 years back, so we've been kind of slow in terms of getting down to the basement, doing much of anything. I actually pulled out stuff to weather for the show, telling myself that I really haven't brought anything new in 3 years. So I said, I'm going to sit down, I'm going to weather stuff to have on display, I'm going to do a bunch of new stuff, and I got all of one auto rack done. So just life-wise, it's tough to get down there sometimes, especially with having the kid and everything as of the last year. But just trying to get through getting the layout finished up. I'm hoping to get back around to doing some videos here pretty quick now that I have that back together, and just working on the magazine, really.
Yeah, so new dad, and you're kind of discovering that, right?
Yeah.
But it's great. I mean, you find ways, although you can't do everything you want to do, just find little ways just to keep that flywheel turning just a little bit.
Sure, yeah, and it's nice being able to, once you get her down to bed, my wife goes to work a little bit before I do, so once she goes to bed, I usually have a couple hours before I lay down to kind of go in the basement and just, whether it's getting stuff organized, working on the layout in little bits and pieces, you just do the little projects just to keep some momentum going.
Yeah, so that in-between time, and now you come to the St. Louis RPM, and we talk about flywheels turning, and when you come here and you see all these amazing modelers and what they've produced, and start having these conversations, tell me what you're fired up about when you leave here today.
Well, I think the show really does a lot for me every year, because I always tend to see a boost in what I get done for at least a couple months after this. Whether it's stuff I'm taking home from here or ideas and concepts, it always seems like I tend to get a little bit more done. As summer starts to wind down, I get to take some of this momentum I found here home, and whether that's weathering. Last year it was getting some of the squealers from Iowa scaled and some of their other bits and pieces to put on the layout, and a lot of that also aids in driving into getting back into operations and whatnot. So once you get the squealer in, you start running trains, you're like, oh, this is kind of fun. I got to start switching, start getting your switch list back together. So it's always nice to have a show like this to, like you said, kind of start that flywheel and get a little bit more momentum and go home and get a running start at getting more stuff done.
Have you found something that you learned this weekend, something new that you didn't really realize before?
I think there's a big eye-opening to the amount of technology that's coming out on the electronic side for layout stuff. Between some of the different hobby shops and smaller manufacturers coming out with lighting boards for circuitry, building lighting, street light lighting, as well as the Fusey from Logic Rail, the squealer from Iowa Scaled. I think there's a definite lean into the technology and electronic side, and I think that's one thing that a lot of guys have always been kind of scared of to approach. And I know that because I used to do installs a lot, and that was one of the things I got from a lot of my guys that came to me was, I don't have the time to learn it, I don't want to learn it, it's easier just to let you handle it. So I think the hobby is definitely really starting to lean into the electronics at all age groups.
Yeah, and we talked about that just a few moments ago, that the age group that's here is so diverse. You got younger folks like yourself, you got older folks, and everywhere in between. It's just it's a melting pot of so many different things, but yet all are people, and you see everybody interacting and sharing ideas. Young folks sharing what they're learning, older folks sharing the knowledge they've gained, all coming together in really one place.
Yeah, it's a really great mix. I tell everybody that these RPMs, it's not your normal go buy stuff, take the family in the stroller train show. It's really a more refined show. And I think the age of modelers is a little more diverse, and I think it's a little bit younger as well at a lot of these. But the level of modeling, the skill, the talent, the willingness to share and learn, I think these RPMs are a really incredible show for picking up a lot of that kind of stuff.
Oh, awesome. Well, I'm going to let you get back to it. There's a lot more RPM to absorb. We're into day 2 of the St. Louis RPM, but Shane Mason, so great to see you in person and get to hang out with you a little bit. We didn't get to go out and do our rail fanning trip like we did last year, where we saw absolutely no trains the entire time, but we had an absolute blast. But yeah, tell us a little bit what your plans are for the rest of the day.
Well, I think run around with Mike Ostertag from that Second Section podcast, or whatever they call it now, and then Tony as well. We're going to try and run down to maybe downtown and see if we can find anything moving down there, and then just kind of hitting some of the manufacturers before we go, and then catching up with friends. This is always one of my social shows, so interacting with guys such as yourself and everybody else that shows up is always a high priority for me.
Well, we're definitely amongst your people and our people, and it's so great to have you here. Shane, thank you so much for stopping by.
Appreciate it, Ray. Thank you.
Well, hey, here's a face I saw in Deschler, Nebraska, and he's been doing some traveling around. That's Nick Santo from NixTrainz. Nick, tell me what you've been up to since I saw you last at Deschler.
Well, I was lucky. I stopped at the National Train Show, the NMRA National, last week, and came down here, and now I'm at the St. Louis RPM, having a good time.
You've been putting on the miles. You're out of Vermont, right? And then you went from Vermont, you went out to Deschler, you've made it down to back to Novi, Michigan, then down here. So it might be time for an oil change, Nick.
I was thinking that August would be a good time to sit down for a while.
Yeah, I would say maybe take a breath, take a break, get yourself caught up. It looks like you've got all your goods here from the Decoder Buddy and now your new Power Bridge and all the stuff laid out, and you've been talking to all the fine folks here. We are amongst our people, aren't we? These guys that just absolutely get it.
It's really fun to be with people who are interested and people who know you and will come up and say, wow, this is a great thing that you've done. Shows are a lot of fun. They really are.
We talked last night. We had our round table about technology and model railroading, and you're on that forefront as well. As DCC has really become kind of the almost standard equipment now. It's really hard not to do DCC for most folks, and you've been able to develop a way to make DCC installations quite a bit easier. Talk a little bit about it.
Well, thanks. It is easier. What you have is well-labeled, good-sized pads to solder, wires from trucks and motors and lights. Two, it has a separable light board that allows the shell and the frame to be separated so that we can lubricate our frame and powder our shell and not mix the two, and then put them both back together and set them on the track. It makes for a much neater installation because the wires are kind of confined to each side of the installation, the shell side and the frame side.
Boy, I've been on that side of it. I've taken a shell off where the wires are, to the shell, soldered on the board. You can't move it. And no matter how careful you are, something always seems to go wrong. You bump it, you knock it. Now you're flipping the chassis laying on its side. It's into the shell. The shell's got now a handrail broken. So not only are you doing a DCC installation, now you're actually doing detail parts because you've broke everything off. You found a way to help solve my little disaster there.
Thanks. Yep, and we can leave the cyanoacrylate bottle on the side shelf.
Awesome stuff. Well, you've got that, and then, I preach whenever you do a DCC installation, unless you've somehow mastered the way of keeping absolutely no dust or dirt in your layout room, having a capacitor as part of that installation is a must, an absolute must, including operations. Talk a little bit about your new product here with the Power Bridge.
Well, the Power Bridges can be used either in a 3-wire or 2-wire situation. The European people make 3 wires, 3-wire stay alives, and it turns on and off the stay alives so that you can program in the sound part. In the U.S., we use a 2-wire stay alive that stays on all the time, and both keep the locomotive going down the track. The nice thing about my stay alives is that you can use them in a 2-wire situation by combining the red wire and the white wire, or you can use them in the 3-wire situation, the European situation, by controlling that stay alive with the white wire. So it makes a versatile installation. You can put one stay alive in, maybe sell the locomotive later to somebody who wants the other style of decoder in your locomotive. The versatility of the stay alives is very good. The 2-wire stay alive that I sell will also work with a 3-wire stay alive. The electronics package allows it to program, say, a Loc sound decoder without disconnecting or putting a switch in line. It's just a 2-wire stay alive, and I've been told by my installers that they work very well in terms of tacking it onto a decoder buddy and are very responsive.
And they're compact too, so we talk about smaller locomotives, switcher applications, and you've got something they'll pretty much fit in almost any locomotive.
Yep, the minis work and have all the same parts. It just doesn't have this small connector board, and with a small locomotive, it's got a short wheelbase, and the small stay alive might fit in the tender, or maybe even the boiler area if you're lucky.
Well, awesome. Decoder Buddy, Power Bridge, Decoder Buddy Mini, and all the awesome products coming from NixTrainz. That's NixTrainz, NixTrainz, and that's NixTrainz.com. Nick, Santo, so glad that we were able to run into each other yet again out here in the Midwest. 2 New Englanders hanging out in the Midwest. I can't wait to get back to New England after all this, and I'm sure you're ready to sleep in your own bed for a while.
It'll feel good to be home again. New England's a good place, too.
Well, I was going to say some of the most awesome things that you have here on the table. You got some passenger cars and some locomotives and stuff, but I think the best thing you have right now are chairs. And it's so good to sit down here with Curtis Koch from Broadway Limited.
And thank you for being here, Ray. I'm glad you're able to use one of my 3 chairs that they gave me for the show for yourself. Take a load off. Let's talk trains.
That's awesome. You say take a load off, but we got some heavyweights here on these flyers, and we've got some samples of as well. And we had the opportunity to talk to Ken Silvestri out at Deschler, and now you get to do the St. Louis RPM. I think it was a fair trade. You get to come out here to the middle of the country and hang out with us model railroaders.
Yeah, it's always great coming out to the RPMs. I always like coming to the RPMs more than even like going to like the Amherst, because it's just a consolidated group of really passionate modelers, and I think that's such a great thing to see, especially when you go right behind me here. You got all the tables laid out with all the models that people have done great weathering jobs and everything like that. It's great to be out here, and it's great to be part of probably one of the better RPM shows in the country, if not the best, I think a lot of people would say.
Yeah, well, it definitely is a gathering of no-kidding model railroaders, right? It's the people that are definitely into the hobby, and you guys are definitely into the details and some amazing stuff. Talk about the lineup that you've got here sitting on the table.
Sure. So from the far left here, we've got our new 5-car set of heavyweight passenger cars. These have just delivered to dealers now. We've got many different roads. And last week at the NMRA show in Novi, Michigan, we announced our 2nd production run, and we've actually gone back and redone some tooling modifications to it, where we're actually going to be making the 1947 American Freedom Train. So a lot of customers have been excited for that. Our paint will thankfully, with the help of the fine folks at Rapido, will match their Alco PA, and many other cars that we've been doing also are going to match many different locomotives that have been out on the market for a while now. So if you get the chance to go on our website, broadway-limited.com, you'll see the full list of paint schemes and everything, and then you can get your pre-orders in by October 30th, and that'll be the best way to make sure you get some of these cars when they come in.
So wait a second. You manufacturers don't fist fight with each other and throw things at each other? You actually work together on things?
In some cases, yes. Like our heavyweights, the paint codes that Rapido had used for their PA we're using on our cars, so our cars will match. The Kenefic business cars, the Union Pacific business cars in HO scale that have been very popular, we matched the Walthers paint on it, so customers and modelers will have a seamless yellow. You won't have a lemon yellow with a faded yellow. It'll all match perfectly with your passenger trains and your locomotives too. But yeah, in some cases we like to work together, and for the better of the modeling community.
Well, what a great way to talk about it at the place where that seems to be the absolute theme, right? Of coming together, working together, sharing ideas. You're kind of on an angle for, 2 good friends of mine, Butch Eiler and Tony Sissons. They got a learning station where they're teaching people about weathering. You've got all this information sharing going on, and then we find out manufacturers are doing the same thing too. So this is great. Great to hear the cooperation going on, and like you said, for the betterment of our experience.
Yeah, and even more so, I think most guys that you'll talk to here from manufacturers and amongst customers, we're all modelers, so we all want the same thing. So when we can come together and when other manufacturers are willing to work together to share their paint chips for different projects, it just makes it better for everybody. It increases sales on both ends. It helps everybody in the long run. It is a hobby. It is supposed to be fun, so when you can get together, like I said, and come together and make a really great model that matches stuff that people like, it all helps out everybody in the end.
That's the spirit of model railroading, really, in a nutshell, to be able to cooperate. I want to talk about some of the innovation that Broadway Limited is bringing forward, and we talked a bit about it with Ken, but this touch lighting on these passenger coaches is revolutionary. We throw away the wand, keep that for casting spells. You guys have a new way to light these coaches.
Yeah, and the lighting system for the coaches have been very well received. I don't think I've had one complaint in the many shows that I've done since our Kenefic cars and heavyweights have come out about the light features. The touch lighting system has been a great idea from our president, Bob Gruba, he had a vision for it, and our factory has been able to work with us on that. And the customization of the light features too, where you can tap and hold your finger and you can dim the lights to a certain setting on the interior. If it's too bright for you, you can dim it, or if it's not light enough, you can make it brighter. You can individually turn on and off marker lights and ditch lights and track inspection lights. The light features on our rolling stock and our passenger cars have been really well received, and that's something that every time a customer has come up to the table here at the RPM or any other show, they see the car and they're like, your light system is fantastic, and they get all excited about it. So that realism is great, and the fact that there is no wand, like you said, or not even a decoder too, it makes everything much easier for everybody.
Well, the theme of this year's 18th St. Louis RPM has been technology, and that's all the new technology that's been able to move forward and enhancing that experience in the play aspect and the interactivity, and that definitely moves that another major step forward.
Yeah, and on top of that too, when you have so many innovations that have come out on the tech front, like down a couple ways, you have a company that's made the EMD throttle stand so you can control your locomotives like an EMD locomotive would. Just the technology, computers, microchips, all that stuff has really taken this hobby to another level. And I've said it before, but I really think we're in the golden age of this hobby, where things are more detailed, things are incredibly done so well across the board amongst every manufacturer and little side business and dealer. Everybody's just doing such a great job, and it's a great time to get into the hobby.
Absolutely. We don't want to leave our good N-Scale friends out here, and you've got some N-Scale products here as well, including a really cool looking CSX Gevo over there too.
Yeah, so the CSX Gevos, and we just had a new production run announcement of those earlier this month. Some new CSX Heritage units. So the chassis system one is one of the few that we're doing. You can go ahead and go on our website and Broadway-Limited.com. You'll see a full list of the paint schemes there. And we've got the BNSF 25th anniversary units as well, so you can get that. And also, we've been getting a lot of really, really positive reaction to our 3 samples of our N-Scale E units, which will be arriving in September. New tooling, road-specific details. You really can't go wrong with these units, and like I said, they'll be arriving in September. Perfect power to lead your passenger trains on your N-Scale layout.
Awesome. So HO and N is all covered here. You talked about heavyweight coaches. Let's talk about that heavyweight SD70 over there. I said I missed the opportunity when the initial tooling came out, and I think it was wasn't it nearly a year ago that maybe that's where we saw it, right here at the St. Louis RPM, and now here it is, all painted up Southern Pacific colors on this UP Heritage unit. And I said, I got to try to pick this thing up and feel it. And boy, that die cast, you could feel the weight. I mean, that's going to be a big puller there, right there.
It is a big puller, but you know what? Even though it is die cast, not everything on it is die cast. The handrails are brass, so you won't have any plastic warping on it, so they'll stand perfectly straight. Grab irons are brass. There's only 3 parts on this entire locomotive that are plastic. The trucks, the radiator fans near the rear of the locomotive, and underneath the fireman side window, you have the electrical cable boxes and everything there. Those are the only 3 parts that are plastic, and all in all, you get a model that weighs just under 2 pounds, and I haven't personally tested it, but could probably pull nails out of your wall if you really wanted to try to do it. So they have been really popular. We have another production run in the works right now that people can place their pre-orders on. Many different paint schemes, including some additional UP Heritage units that we didn't offer in the first run, and also through Chase's Train Garage, a dealer in Ohio. We are offering the newly painted Norfolk Southern Delaware and Hudson Heritage unit that just recently came out in the last month or so. So tons of great stuff coming in HO for die-cast diesels, and we have some ideas for some additional die-cast diesels down the line.
That Delaware and Hudson Heritage unit almost seemed to appear out of nowhere. Did you guys have a little inside baseball on that one?
You know what? I wish I could say we did, but the timing just worked out because we announced the next production run, and then a week or 2 later is when they announced the D&H unit. I wish I could say I knew someone, but I don't.
I was going to say, if that's the case, you got to make my phone ring when you get all that inside baseball and learn that stuff. But that was very cool, and how quickly you've been able to take that from it being released by the railroad right to production now, and then we're going to be able to own it in 1/87th scale.
Yeah, and those should be coming in later this year, early next year. So if you really want to get your hands on one, go on our website. You can see the artwork for it. We've matched the details to that, so we'll have the PTC antenna arrangement and everything on there. They're really going to be great models, and it'll be the first D&H ST70 on the market. So we're really excited about those.
And before we leave, tell us about the Conductors Club and how you can become a member of that.
Sure. So on our website, if you go under the Club tab on the top of the homepage, you'll see it. It's $30 for a year, but you get a bunch of additional perks. One of the biggest perks that a lot of people have joined for is the ability to buy already tooled model in an exclusive paint scheme at a members only price. So for example, our HO scale ES44s with sound and with smoke, you could get from us direct for $199.99, and the stealth version, the DCC ready version, is $129.99. And those are prices that you will not find through anybody else out there for a road-specific detailed model like that. In both HO and N scale prices will be different from the HO scale prices, of course. But you also get a lot of other perks too with the membership. You get an additional year of warranty on all BLI products that have been made in 2024 or later. You also get 10% off our online outlet store. You get a product suggestion portal that if you, a club member, want something that for us to make, you submit that form on our portal, and we will be able to see that you're a member, and we will take your considerations more seriously than just anybody who wants to submit a request for a different locomotive or a piece of rolling stock. So there's a lot of perks. You can find all those details on our website, Broadway-Limited.com. Again, click on the Club tab in the top, and you'll see it there.
Does the weather outside feel like home?
You know what? A little bit. I got off the airplane when I got into St. Louis on Wednesday, and the first words out of my mouth when I stepped outside was, oof. It was really hot, really humid. The humidity here is thankfully not as bad as it is back home in Florida, but it's close. It's close to it.
Well, I'll tell you what, this New England blood in me is struggling with this weekend. We were so spoiled last year. It was so gorgeous. This year it's a little hot. That's the only complaining I'm going to do, because the weather is perfect inside here at the St. Louis RPM, and it's great to see a familiar face with Curtis Koch from Broadway Limited joining us here, telling us all about their awesome products, and we'll look forward to having you on the podcast again very soon.
Sounds good, Ray. Thank you so much for stopping by.
One of the very awesome parts of the St. Louis RPM are these learning stations that are throughout the main room here at the Gateway Center. And one of the folks I have here, and yes, I got the bleep button ready because I've got I don't know if it's famous or infamous. I don't know which way we should go with this, but I've got sitting next to me Tony Sissons. Tony, it's so good to see you, my friend.
It's to you, Ray. I've thoroughly enjoyed meeting you since we last met at NERP up in New England in May. Yeah, we're good.
We've been having a lot of fun since then, because all I had to do was ask a question. I said, hey, I got this SD60E, and I just need the numbers changed. Do you know anybody that'd be able to do it? And that's, of course, we were sitting around the table. It was you and Butch Eiler, and I can't remember who else was there. And and Dave Appenasano. And we were all just hanging out, and all I had to do was ask that question, and this gentleman's arm flew up and said, me, I can do this. And boy, did you do it. You've really gone to town on that locomotive.
Yeah, well, number changing for me is, just a process. It doesn't take that long, 4 or 5 hours all told, going slow. But my problem is that once I've put something to what, in this case, was Ray, it was what he wanted, he then kindly sent me some photographs of this particular loco, 6950. And me being the pedant I am, I couldn't really return it without putting things right. There was a bit here and a bit there, and then we found out that a fan, which was correct on many 60Es, on the particular one Ray chose, it had a filter hatch, so that had to go on and the fan had to be removed. So that was one thing. So I was into it, and it's like anything when you do a modification, there's always a little bit of damage here and a damage there. And so I said, well, personally, I'm going to have to weather this to make it absolutely perfect. So I did, and that was another 3 weeks. So the upshot of everything was that I was going to present the great reveal to Ray yesterday when RPM here in St. Louis opened up. I looked at my stuff on the table because I was on the hill, the weathering tables and stuff, and I thought, oh my goodness, I've left his stuff at home behind the front door in the passageway. I could not believe it. I was so embarrassed. I was sad. I was upset. And I had to. And Ray came around after about 9:30 after the show opened, and he looked, nice smile, with this face of, well, show it to me, Tony. Come on, show it to me. And I had to say, Ray, I'm so sorry. I left it all at home. But I'll tell you what, guys, I met a gentleman in our hobby for the first time. I'll tell you what, maybe I'm having a bit of fun here, but Ray did me. He come back in the afternoon and he said, you know, because I was still embarrassed, I was still upset that I let a man down. That was a big thing for me, really big thing. And so I said, when I get back on Tuesday, I'm going to UPS it to you straight away. And Ray said, Tony, you really wanted to show that, didn't you? And I said, yeah, I did. I was proud of it. It's one of my best jobs ever, of weathering. Even Butch Eiler said, when he saw the photographs, holy goodness me, he said, in different types of words.
Yeah, Butch doesn't talk like, yeah, that would be too fancy for Butch, but yeah.
So he said, Tony, keep it for a little while. I won't be using it aloud, still in build, or words to that effect, something like that. He knows I go to plenty of RPMs, so I'll have it at Mid-Atlantic, I'll have it at the Ohio Central, up in Marion with Dennis Blake, and I'll have it to show at Benton, Wichita one, what's that one called? Central of, well, anyway, whatever one it is, it's in Wichita, Kansas, and then we'll see, and then we'll see how it goes. So I was very happy about that, excited, and I thought that was very, very nice of Ray Arnott. That made a change.
Well, are you kidding me? I mean, the work you did on this thing and how gorgeous this locomotive is, and we're going to share pictures on our website, aroundthelayout.com, of this. And, you know, and I also sent Tony the prototype photos as well, so he'll have those to display. There are 2 photos I'm very proud of that I was able to take of this unit going over the bridge out of Deerfield Yard, going over the Connecticut River up in East Deerfield, Massachusetts. So Tony has made it look exactly as it is in that photo, down to details that we probably never even knew about the SD60E. I mean, that's been part of the fun, has been not only the weathering and, you know, but what we've learned along the way about these units.
It was a discovery. The reason I'd never had anything to do with an SD60E, because it was manufactured or remanufactured from a regular SD60 after the year of 2010. And I'm a Norfolk Southern modeler through the years 1999 to 2010. So as a prototype modeler, I would never have that SD60 or SD60E on my layout. So this was the first time I was experiencing it. So I had to look at it, all the details, and I had a thoroughly enjoyable time working on it for the guy. And me being what I am, I won't let it go unless it's my best job. And my mantra, and everybody knows it, who knows me, is I will never do any model that is not better than the one that I did before it.
Well, that's awesome, and I'm so proud to know that, you know, and once this thing has made its tour around the RPMs, it's going to come home and be on my layout and the work of Tony Sissons. And not only are you doing these weathering jobs, you do them for yourself, but then you come to RPMs like this, you've got the learning station flag flying over your table, and you've got actually 2 gentlemen in front of you right now. One's got a chassis system hopper. He's working on that. It's a bunch of different graffiti on that car. Great looking car that he's going to make that look more like the prototype. And then you got another gentleman here. He's got himself a GP7, and he's weathering that. And Tony's been showing him different methods on that. And they're sitting here right at the table, making it all happen right in front of really a legend in this hobby, and a guy who's really been able to help people bring the realism. That's the whole spirit of this St. Louis RPM, isn't it, Tony?
Yes, it is. I'm a great supporter of the movement, the concept of the RPMs to teach. It's all about teaching, not getting it done too fast, how to just take it easy, sequencing, you don't put that colour on until you got that colour. Also experimenting, buy something cheap at a regular local train show and just play with it and listen to all the incredible talented weatherers, if that weather is your thing. The clinics we have whereby these guys, myself included, will go up and discuss in a slideshow, usually lasting just under an hour, 55 minutes, and they'll detail exactly everything they did for a particular build, be it a locomotive, be it a freight car. It's an amazing concept. It's growing. It still needs support. We must support it, otherwise everything will go away.
Well, that's where you come in, teaching folks that looks just slightly younger than you about this hobby and passing along all the knowledge that you've been able to pick up throughout the years. 1/87th scale locomotive has brought me a friend for life. I'm always appreciative of a very simple question I asked has brought all of this and all the reasons why. You just stick your neck out there just a little bit, and it's amazing the things you'll find. Tony Sissons, it's been a pleasure sitting down with you, and I appreciate our friendship, and I look forward to more projects working with you and having a lot of fun, either on the side of a layout, at a modeling bench, or trackside all over the place.
The answer to that is yes, sirree.
Coming up here from Alabama, right? You've made it all the way up to see it, Radisson McGuire. Radisson, good to see you, my friend.
Hey, Ray, what's going on, brother?
It's good to see you, and you've been busy. I've been watching your photos. You've been doing some cars and weathering them up and patching them and doing all that kind of fun stuff.
Yeah, it's got some free time on my hands at the moment, and I believe I got a car for you, actually. So
I can't wait to see this, and can I guess at what type it might be?
Oh, maybe a 50-foot high cube?
Now you're talking. You're singing my song, my friend, and I can't wait to see this, and that's definitely going to be a highlight of the trip to be able to check that out. But tell me, coming up from Alabama, the St. Louis RPM, what brings you up here?
Honestly, this has been a show that I've followed since I was in high school, and this has always kind of been the best of the best. The show you got to be at. And first show I came to was 2018. I've been coming every year ever since.
Yeah, I've only been coming 2 years, and it's on my list. It really is, and the camaraderie, and we talked about this, and I'm going to beat this right in about the melting pot of different ages, and I think you represent the lesser of the ages, right? The younger folks that are bringing this hobby forward. Tell me what fires you up about the St. Louis RPM.
Honestly, it's the fact that, and I'm not bashing any organization by any shake of the stick, but unlike an NMRA show where it's primarily contests and it's award driven, everyone here is just encouraging everyone to get better. I've like Tony Sessions, old friend of mine, one of the best weathering guys here with Butch Idler. I'm teaching him how to do some leader cars and some of the methods I'm using just as he's teaching me now. So that's why we're here, is to teach each other. And it's what keeps me coming back.
Yeah, I think that's exactly it. There's zero competition here. It's not me versus you. It's just, hey, how can we meet our goals together? You want to do something that's similar to what I'm doing, or maybe it's even completely different, but I have some knowledge to share. And it's just amazing, the information sharing that keeps going on here.
Yeah, it's great. And the historical societies are really awesome. And this is crazy. It's the second year in a row I was thumbing through an old GM&O photo album and found photos of the Montgomery, Alabama area from the 70s, and I immediately whipped my wallet out and bought all of them.
Yeah, but it's gold, right? When you start to find this old information, and especially as you're researching, and it's just amazing. And these are the types of places where that happens.
Yeah, and it's not only about just going and finding historical reference photos or talking to historical societies, but talking to the manufacturers and getting to know them a little bit more and suggesting a product, and they realize that, oh, you're not the only one who wants this type of spark arrestor or a track maintenance machine, or if it's me bugging Kevin Tully at Southern Grain and Stillman Modeler Supply about printing my depot for me in HO scale. So it's this kind of attitude, and this is one of the best shows to come to in the country.
Well, it's also the people that when you mention spark arrestors and all these other components, they know what you're talking about.
Yeah, and that's the other cool thing. Unlike coming to some of the other smaller shows where it's just a buy-sell trade, this is a lot of these vendors are here to listen to us and find out what we need as a modeler.
Well, I say it often, you learn a lot at the foot of the customer, and now the feet of the customer are in front of them. They're sharing ideas, and it really is no infomercial. We need these guys. We need them creating these awesome products because it's fulfilling our wants and needs in model railroading by being able to provide them. We've got an amazing amount of vendors here. Tell me, have you broke the wallet out yet? Has any damage been done to it?
I'll never financially recover from this.
Yeah, I think that's it's very hard not to, right? You would almost have to, you'd have to leave it at home and fly without it to not have something jumping out of your wallet. There's so much amazing stuff here and so many amazing vendors and amazing folks like yourself who show that the hobby is in great hands. You're a good ambassador to the hobby, the things that you share. Tell us a little bit. We're going to have to get you on the show and do a full interview and talk about the Alabama Central Railroad, but just give us a little bit about it and what folks can expect to hear.
It is a Class 3 short line divided into two sections that runs around the Montgomery, Alabama area all the way up through Maplesville, Alabama on former GM&O trackage. The line really exists, all of the concepts exist, the industries exist, but because I'm not a fan of Watco's paint, black and yellow paint scheme, I created my own alternate history using real friends who work in the rail industry who unfortunately aren't with us anymore. But it allowed me to kind of just create a proto-freelance short line that on paper, every time I've taken it out, I go, oh yeah, I've heard about this railroad. I think it's up in North Alabama somewhere. No, it's fake.
Well, that's the biggest compliment you can pay a freelancer, right? Is that they think it's actually real. And, I heard that term from Michael Gross that art is a form of protest. And for you, that's your protest. You don't like that Watco paint, so you're protesting with freelance. I think freelance is one of the biggest ways to protest, and you're definitely putting that to good use.
Oh, for sure. And it's the backstory to the AC is kind of just a combination of like 16 different friends pushing me in the direction of doing it, because I went from modeling the Bay line, which is a real short line down in Dothan and Panama City, to totally freelance in a matter of maybe a year. And it was all because one friend said, well, you did a locomotive, now you need freight cars. And I said, oh God, you're right. It's been downhill ever since.
Oh, awesome. Yeah, you're in deep. You got a great thing, and I love you're doing your freelance railroad, at least your cars. You're doing it in a very real prototype way. It's a small railroad. They wouldn't be printing big decals out or big vinyl out to put on their cars or big stencils. Small. It sells very well, obviously, when people think that it's a real railroad. So you're doing a great job, Radisson. I'm going to definitely get you on the podcast very soon. We're going to hear your model railroading story. But until then, get back and start enjoying the St. Louis RPM.
Thanks, Ray. You too.
And I'm going to go see that car.
Looking forward to it.
Well, it just seems like we were talking about the rail flow guides just a few days ago, and here they are. And we got Jeff Otto here from Oak Hill Model Railroad Track Supply.
Hey, Ray. How you doing today?
I'm doing awesome. And it's so nice to be here inside at the Gateway Center in the St. Louis RPM to hang out and see all this stuff and be amongst our people here at the St. Louis RPM. And that includes guys that want to lay some track and do it the right way. And you've got the tool there here for them.
Yeah, the new rail flow gauge and the curved rail flow gauges, spacing tool. It's a super versatile tool. You can use it to space out your track however track centers you want. I use it actually to lay cork on a diorama and to make flexible hand-laid track a straight track section.
Awesome, yeah, and you've got not only the products here laying out on display, but right next to it is a really sharp-looking set of modules, and we've got Kevin Norman from Notch 8 Customs in front of them. But you got the rail flow guide where it's showing, and this is what I like. This is like the, kind of the autopsy, right? When something's not completed, and you got the rail flow guide showing how this is all done.
Right, yeah, it's just a nice mock-up of its prime purpose was just to make your rail not only straight, but however far apart you want. In this case, on the diorama, it's 3 inches.
When it's off by a little bit in scale, it's off a lot of bit, so these rail flow guides make it look right, so when you look at this thing, it looks like a dead set straightaway.
Well, exactly, and then another good use with the curved is you can set your, like if you have a curved staging yard, you start at 22 degrees, the next track could be 24, 26, 28, 30, as far up as you want to go, however many staging tracks you have, and then you have a nice smooth curve.
Awesome. We got all these products available here, but if you missed the St. Louis RPM, you can also go on the website. Why don't you tell us a little bit about where you can find the Roadmaster Rail Flow System?
Sure, Ray. Yeah, you just go to www.ohrtracksupply.com and just hit the collections button, and you go right to the rail flow systems.
And we talked about tools, but let's talk a little bit about track and what you have available here as well.
Well, so here we not only do we have the rail flow systems, but we also have our cast frogs you can buy separately. We have the tie rods, which Ray has a custom turn I built that has that he really enjoys. We've got some detail parts, detail tie plates. We have HO and O scale spikes. We have some microengineering products, because I am a dealer for microengineering. The other thing that we have on display here are our turnout, Roadmaster turnouts with tie plates, as well as the straight track, which we have 4 versions of straight track. Heavy freight, medium freight, light or branch line and yard industry, and we have them in straight sections and curvable sections, which I utilize on the diorama, the medium freight and the curved yard track or siding. And I've been demonstrating to people how it all works, explaining everything, how easy it is, and everyone really seems to be impressed by it. So it's really cool.
Well, there's a lot of rolling stock and locomotives around us here, but to make that all work, we need track. And when you need track, we're going to go see Jeff at Oak Hill Model Railroad Track Supply. Jeff, it's been so great to see you here in St. Louis. Kind of the end of the road of a whirlwind for you. I know you've been doing some shows as well. What's next for Oak Hill Model Railroad Track Supply, other than a little bit of rest?
Well, I have a lot of custom work to do. I do custom crossovers, curved crossovers, diamonds, in the process of building a couple of layouts. But then we do have some new products. We're going to be having N-scale rail flow guides, O-scale, and S-scale coming out within the next month to 6 months. Also some new frogs. We have a number 8 railbound manganese frog coming. We have a number 10 turnout with tie plates, the Roadmaster series, becoming available soon. And then probably in 2026, we're going to go to O-scale, the entire Roadmaster system, as well as other diamonds, 30, 45, 60. So a lot of things in the works, a lot of things we want to do that we're going to do. And our next show will be Amherst.
Awesome. So a little bit of a break for shows, but you got a lot of product development doing and bringing in S and O and N scale into the HO offerings for Roadmaster Track here at Oak Hill Model Railroad Track Supply. Jeff, so good to see you here in St. Louis. I'm looking forward to seeing you again in Amherst.
Yeah, it's great to see you, Ray, and I look forward to seeing you in Amherst as well.
Well, we got a guy with a great-looking hat. He had a great-looking shirt on yesterday. Now he's got his Second Section podcast dispatcher, and he's coming over here to apologize, but I've got one of those too. So, I'm not wearing it today, but I do have one of those. That's Rob here from Harrisburg, Pennsylvania.
Yep. I drove out here Thursday, a 14-hour trip, and very happy to be here.
Yeah, great to see you here. Tell me what brings you to the St. Louis RPM.
Literally listening to you and the Second Section guys talk about the show so often. I was out of the hobby for 30 years, and I just got back in 3 years ago. So I went to Amherst in January. I met you there. And then I decided to take a week of vacation and shoot out to St. Louis.
Awesome. So you said you got back into the hobby after a long break. Tell me what fired you up after that long break.
it was time. Like my kids were, out of the house and, moved on. So I was looking for something to do and getting close to retirement. And, I was like, I had 80s and 90s, blue box era. I had my own proto freelance railroad with my dad, and, again, wife and kids came along, and that all went on the back burner, got sold off, and so here I am.
You're living proof of the statement that the hobby will wait for you, and now you're back. Tell me, you've been here yesterday. I saw you, and you sat in on the keynote roundtable, and now you're back for day 2. What's got you fired up and ready to go back and do? Is there an idea that's just beating out of your head, just ready to do something?
Seeing the models here, there's some absolutely amazing models on display, and I see yesterday there was a lot. Today there's even more. And speaking to the modelers at the tables and asking them questions, and just some absolutely amazing modeling, and it's like I want to go home and do that.
Yeah, that keeps that flywheel turning, and maybe even spins it up a little better RPM going. And now maybe that's what the RPM part is, about the RPM of that flywheel turn and walking out of here.
Absolutely, yeah. This is a really good show. I'm very happy I came out here. Again, like everywhere when I went to Amherst, coming here, everybody is just so nice. Not a cranky soul in the bunch, and it just it speaks well for the hobby that everybody's just so nice all the time.
So when I come out to Harrisburg, Pennsylvania, where are we going to go rail fanning?
Well, I'll take you to Fort Hunter, and you can go see the Rockville Bridge. Take you to the famous rail fan bridge in Enola. Take you out to, unfortunately, most of it's gone, but the old Hershey factory in Hershey, PA is a place to go. Obviously, with PSR, we don't run as many trains as we used to. I work for NS, so the Harrisburg line from Harrisburg to Reading used to host 50 trains a day. Now it's down to about 30, but there's still plenty going on.
Well, as long as it's a thoroughbred, I'm pretty happy with that. So I'll have to make my way out to Harrisburg and check all that scene out, and we'll rely on you as the tour guide to get me around, and we'll see that. So we'll make plans to do that. But for now, get yourself back out there and start enjoying the St. Louis RPM.
All right. Thank you, Ray.
So walking through the show here, and I got pulled aside by a gentleman who's been listening to the podcast. Why don't you tell us your name?
Sure, it's Marty Otting from Columbia, Missouri.
Awesome, Marty. And tell us why you're here at the St. Louis RPM.
Well, I'm in a model railroad club in Columbia, Missouri that's doing some layout and modeling of the mid-Missouri area. And of course, when you're only 2 hours away, it's kind of nice to come over and see all of the wonderful models here and all of the different vendors that are here displaying some just fantastic things. Anyone who questions the future of the hobby needs to come to one of these shows, because they'll just be blown away at the level of detail and the 3D printing and all the new materials that are available, and just seeing the actual work that modelers are doing is also a big part of it. So it's a great place to come see all of that.
Well, Marty, you bring up a great point. I look around the room and you see so many folks here in varying ages, and that's all so refreshing. Like you said, and I use the saying that the hobby isn't dying, it's evolving. And you see that. You've got some elderly gentlemen, you've got some middle-aged men, and then you got some young guys, you got some young gals, and just a complete mix of cultures and everything else. And we're looking across the room right now. We got guys hugging each other and shaking hands, and that's what it's all about. All of us of different walks of life, different places, and all coming together to be with our people, to figure out, the folks that are kind of just as weird as we are, right?
That's exactly right. It really is a passion. And when you get into this hobby and you find out that there are other people that are very interested in very specific details about a particular railroad or location or locomotive, and you find that there's a lot of other people that go down those rabbit holes as well. And not only that, but they found solutions to some of the same problems you were scratching your head looking at home, wondering what you were going to do. And I think this is a great place to see all of those things come together. I brought one of my club members who's a college student with me today, and I joked that they ought to let me in free since I was bringing a young guy in. But I do see quite a few young people here too, which I think is a great sign for the future of the hobby.
Oh, the hobby is in very good hands, and we got folks that we just talked to, Lonnie Bathurst and their team, and they've definitely nailed the format. And with this whole RPM idea, just a couple days, like you said, you just got here, you're going to spend the day, you're going to be able to absorb all of this in one day, and be able to see and meet so many folks. And as you start to walk around here and you're seeing your people and all the things that are here, tell me, when you get back home, what's going to have you fired up? What's going to be your project?
Well, I made the mistake of picking up a proto throttle, and I think I've heard people on your show talk about how that's dangerous to do, because once you do that, you don't want to put it down. And that's probably something that I'm going to have to invest in down the road. So that's one of the things. I'm excited about all the 3D printing options that are available here, from detail parts to scenery items to just everything under the sun. The sky's the limit with 3D printing, and I just think we're going to see more and more of that. It's neat to see cottage industry guys showing up that are just doing it in their basement, and how easy it is now to be able to figure out how to do some of those things. I think that's been really neat to see. And then the electronics, so we talked about the proto throttle, but like the signaling systems, all of the things that DCC enables people to do now, and the servos, just all the different electronics that you see. Anyone who spends time operating on a layout knows how much that adds to the picture when you got operating signals and crossing gates and all of that. So I probably get excited about all those things, and of course I'm bringing home a bag full of GM&O locomotives and cars that I bought as well. So there's always that when you come to a train show.
That's for sure, yeah. And I certainly have my bag of stuff out here, and we'll be flying back to New England with a whole bunch of things, but a whole bunch of great memories and meeting great people like yourself, Marty, and that's what this RPM's all about. So glad you pulled me aside and we got to chat here for a few minutes. So I'm going to let you get back to absorbing the St. Louis RPM, but thanks again for stopping by.
Thank you, Ray, and appreciate again what you're doing for the hobby. Keep up the good work.
Well, here's a face I knew I would find at the St. Louis RPM eventually. Matt Forcum.
Hey, how's it going?
I'm doing great. Good to see you. Glad you were able to make it here. It's a little bit of a trip down for you?
Yeah, about 2.5 hours. Yeah, I brought my family with me this time. They're at the zoo right now. I tried to get them to come in, but they didn't want to come see the train. But they're at the zoo.
They're at the Animal Zoo. We're at the Model Railroading Zoo, the St. Louis RPM, right. And we're amongst our people here. And Matt is definitely our people. Matt has been so awesome to the podcast, helped me with a whole bunch of projects, and it's good to see him here. You haven't been here that long, and I see 2 plastic bags of stuff.
So I went over to the Iowa Scaled Engineering booth immediately. I took a beeline from the front door over there, and I got myself a Motorman and some other stuff from them. I love the Iowa Scaled guys. So,
tell me what the plan is for the Motorman.
So I've got a little traveling layout that I'm building. It's 11 feet long, so I need something to kind of go back and forth on the layout for the kids to see whenever they come up and take a look at it. So yeah, I was excited to see that they had some restock, and so grabbed me one of those.
Yeah, they definitely have plenty of stock over there. Those ISC tables have been busy, and I joked that the cream of the crop over there, the proto throttle, needs to have a sticker on it for a Surgeon General's warning for addictiveness, because it's amazing there. And then they don't stop; they just keep coming out with these amazing products.
Yeah, no, they do great stuff. They've got a defect detector too that's coming out very soon. I'm very excited for that. I got a spot on my layout for one of those. So.
Yeah, those are all fun. That play stuff, that ability to have that interactivity, and we just keep finding ways to find the stuff that we see trackside back out onto the railroads.
Well, and that's one of the things I love about model railroading above just like general modeling. You get all that in there, but then you get to actually play with your stuff. You get to run lights, sound effects, anything that you can add to it to bring that realism, that play feature into it. I think is really unique to model railroading, something I really love about it.
Awesome. So did you come with a plan other than beelining to ISC? What's the next step?
Just to walk around and just enjoy the show. I mean, this show is, to me, it's fantastic because you get so many really great models, great modelers, but also stuff to purchase that are you don't find at your local swap meet kind of thing. A lot of detail parts, A lot of people doing custom resin pieces for that one little thing. They're like, oh, I saw that on the prototype one time. I really want one of those in my layout. You only find it at shows like this.
Yeah, it really is the capital of niche, right? It just has that, if you can think it up or dream it up, just keep looking. You're going to find it.
Yeah, absolutely. I'm really excited to see a lot of O-scale stuff here as well, which is really dangerous because I love the size of O-scale. If money was no object, maybe one year I'll go O-scale for myself. But yeah, it's a lot of great stuff here.
It really is. O-scale's got that tangible part to it, that visual, right? It's just amazing to see. I don't know where I would dream up enough space to be able to do O-scale, but yeah, it's definitely, it would be fun. If I had unlimited space, it'd definitely be a scale to look into.
Yeah, absolutely. I was considering O-scale for my traveling layout, but I'd have to make too many compromises just to be able to get it in the back of the car. So HO it is for that one.
Awesome stuff. Well, Matt, it's so good to see you here at the St. Louis RPM. Glad you were able to make the trip down, and we'll be hanging out a bit later and be able to spend some time together, but to let you get back to the shopping and getting yourself caught up.
Great. Thanks for coming out and checking out the show. It's awesome.
And before we go, why don't we tell people where they can find you on YouTube?
Oh my gosh. Okay. mfrailroad.com will take you to my website, and then MF Railroad, search for that on YouTube. You can get to all my videos.
Awesome. So we'll also share links in our show notes here. So, Matt, thank you so much for hanging out with us.
Yeah, thanks.
So as we wrap up this coverage of the 18th annual St. Louis RPM, I'm joined by my chauffeur for the weekend, Matt Freix. Matt, good to see you again, my friend.
How's it going, Ray?
It's going well. And boy, I had such a blast out there in St. Louis, and we got to do so many really cool things in and outside of the RPM. Just getting to see all these people that we get to talk to, maybe online like you and I do, or over the phone, to be all in the same room and be able to hang out and share ideas together is really something special.
Yeah, I totally agree with you. And, one of the highlights for me is I had a kind of last minute drop in at RPM from some old buddies of mine from the Kansas City and Southern Illinois area. And it was just a hell of a time getting to catch up with Andrew and Zach and meet some new people, Jared and Adam, on top of all the kind of regulars that I always see at RPM.
Yeah, definitely good to be amongst your people you know, new people that you get to meet and become your people, and all the fun things that occur around that. I know one of the really special things for you as well is when you walked by that White River Productions table and what you got to see sitting there.
Yeah, as I think maybe a few people might have caught on to that follow my page, myself, and really I can't take much credit, but my buddies Ryan Crawford, Jim Leonard, the three of us came together on a book about the Gateway Western that you might have heard a little bit about from me just running my mouth, but no, we were very excited to see a mock-up, a nice large mock-up of the cover of our book, Gateway Western, a regional in transition, that's going to be coming out this fall.
That's awesome. Yeah, it was great to see your name on the cover of a book. I know you've been working really hard on that, along with your entire team there that's been collaborating on the Gateway Western. You are obviously very passionate about the Gateway Western. Heck, you're modeling it. And then I know how passionate you were on our trip back, because we got to put the drone in the air. We took a whole bunch of photos of the old Gateway Western spots that were important to you as you're putting that model together.
245, maybe, to be exact.
Yeah. There may be a few duplicates in there, but we took a lot of photos, and hopefully they help you on your way to getting the Gateway Western as prototypical as I know you're passionate to get it.
Well, yeah, and I'm sure, anybody that follows the podcast knows who Kevin Tully is. And, just a little bit of background of that is what I wanted Ray to do is to put that drone up in the air, and we hit pretty much every key spot on my layout, including 3 elevators that Kevin Tully is 3D printing. So if anybody wants a piece of the Gateway on their layout, they just might have that chance later this year, next year. But no, we got that drone up, and just got some great rooftop detail shots of the 3 elevators, as well as the plastics plant that we're going to be modeling, and then just some general, aerial stuff. And man, I've already been cross-referencing your aerial shots of the root house yard to what I've got on the layout. And I'm trying to find ways to fit stuff in, like that concrete foundation you found, the little bridge buried in the weeds. Like, there's some cool stuff there.
Yeah, it's amazing what you find when you put the drone up and take a look around and get to see things from the bird's eye view. And again, all the things that you're aiming for and getting all those details and making this thing look, again, as prototypical as possible.
Well, Ray, one of the things that I think was super cool about putting that drone up is I think, I'm sitting here looking at my layout, and if I remember right, I built it at about 54 inches off the ground. So it's a tall layout. You're not quite eye level, but it's pretty dang tall. And throwing that drone up in the air and looking at those detail pics, we always look at pics, from trackside. And I'm looking at the pics we shot from the drone, and I'm like, this is what we see on the layout. And it's crazy how great of a tool it is. And I'm really excited to be able to, mimic some of that stuff that we're able to see from up in the air as we get to scenery on the layout.
Yeah, I'll definitely be looking forward to seeing what you're able to create based on those photos, not only through other photos, but being able to see it again in person. My next trip out, flew into Chicago. We drove down. We attended the St. Louis RPM, drove back to Chicago. I flew home. So not a whole lot of time, but my next trip to the Chicagoland's got to be a little trip down to your Gateway Western and should be able to check that out.
Yeah, I think we'll just get you into town, and we'll just come down here and relax and see how the layout's feeling.
That'd be great. If you want to follow updates on Matt's layout, we'll provide all the links in our show notes. That's aroundthelayout.com/176. That'll also have the link to purchasing the book Gateway Western, a regional in transition. That's available through White River Productions. And again, you can check that out aroundthelayout.com/176. Matt, thank you so much for your hospitality all weekend and getting me in and around and about the St. Louis area, doing some awesome rail fanning, obviously the events of the St. Louis RPM, and then to and from Midway Airport very safely.
Anytime, Ray.
Thank you for joining us for this episode of Around the Layout. Learn more about today's episode, check out past shows, and much more on our website, aroundthelayout.com. Show your support by becoming an operating crew member at aroundthelayout.com/crew. Follow us on social media, aroundthelayout.com/social. And send us your feedback, aroundthelayout@gmail.com. Thanks for hanging out with us around the layout.